The Legend of the Cattleman. There was once a cattleman who travelled far from his homeland in order to earn his living, and also to share his special skill and knowledge with the cattle raisers of other lands. When he arrived in the country where he had decided to settle, he gave himself out as a cattle expert. At first people crowded around him, anxious to learn his knowledge. They said, "We welcome you, for we are specialists in cows and oxen, and we need such as you, although this is not a good country for raising such animals, as they become sick and die very frequently, in spite of all our science." He asked them, "And how do you feed and treat your animals?" They described their methods to him, and he at once saw that because of deep but false imaginings about the nature and treatment of cattle, they were already preventing their own herds from multiplying and even from flourishing. To them, their own feelings were more necessary than the proper raising of cattle, though they imagined that they were serving their herds. When he tried to point this out to them, they displayed such horror and dismay that he was compelled to say, "I am only jesting. Of course you are right in the way in which you treat your animals." Because he had said that, the people allowed him to work with their animals. They appointed him in the end to be their main administrator of cattle. This meant that this man had employment in the country of his choice. But when it came to the matter of being able to carry out his principal ability, that of tending and treating cattle, his condition was one of great anxiety and trouble for him. Because he was compelled by local requirements to treat the cattle with famous but useless remedies when they were sick, he had to spend 1/3 of his nights, which he could have rested, in making the rounds of the herds and administering the right curatives to them. Because he had to feed the cattle with insufficient nutrients, since these were the ones which the local people considered right, he had to spend another 1/3 of his free time in secretly feeding to the cattle what they really needed. Only 1/3 of the necessary allotment of rest ever remained to him. His life was shortened by this way of living, but he attained high repute among the cattle people, who regarded him as a paragon of the virtues in cattle wisdom, which was enshrined in their own previous history and aspirations. The cattle herds improved and flourished. When he died, and the puzzled cattle people tried to redouble what they imagined to be the correct formulas for dealing with their herds, the animals died even more than they had done before they had ever known the newcomer. It was only because he left a son sworn to secrecy, who eventually took his father's place, that the people's welfare, and that of their cows and oxen, was, in spite of themselves, maintained. The best player of a game is the watcher. Ask him. Proverb. The Handicap. A Persian carpet weaver challenged a Turkish weaving master to a contest. Each was to make the best carpet that he could, so that a panel of judges might finally decide who was the greatest weaver in the world. But the Turk was a philosopher whose teaching for many years had been summed up in this phrase: "Never refuse, but never contend." So he accepted the challenge, saying only, "I must make one proviso, because of the known disparity between your work and mine." "Yes, indeed," said the Persian, "I am prepared to agree to a handicap." "Very well," said the Turkish master. "The condition shall be that I give you a start of 12,000 years. Be a tiger if you are ready for a tiger's problems." Proverb.